Hey guys, and welcome back to Regrexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, it seems that the Tories, this morning on the TV, I was watching Therese Coffey make an announcement, and I'm not going to call her the woman who was born divorced anymore, because after I heard her alarm on her phone, which was Dr. Dre, I was like, well, she might be all right. Don't get me wrong now. Do you know what I mean? I know that she's an absolute twat because she must have voted for this whole Rwanda plan. But that's besides the point. So Therese Coffey now was on the TV announcing, right, the big announcement that she's made, because all of a sudden now they're calling her Dr. Therese Coffey. But she was making some big announcements this morning, and one of her first big announcements was that they're going to have more telephone lines into the GP surgeries. Are there going to be more people to answer the telephone lines? See, that's a question that someone should have said to her. Are there going to be more people to answer all those new phone lines that are going to be in the GP surgeries? And then she was talking about something about a cloud, something about, people's going to be able to, something about a cloud. I'm like, okay. And then we've got another big announcement that we're all, right, to first speak to our pharmacists, right, before we go to the GPs. And the pharmacists, they might make an announcement to say, well, the pharmacists can prescribe more, I think it's like they're talking about like contraceptives and all this type of thing. What the pharmacist says how to supply. I mean, okay, most pharmacists, yeah, they have done fucking 6 or 8 years in university, right? Which happens to always be my first port of call. If I'm ill, the first thing I do is go and see the pharmacist, right? And if the pharmacist says to me, yes, you can take this pill, this lotion, or this potion, right? Or yeah, you want to just go to see a GP, or you need to get your ass into fucking casualty immediately. Say, can't you just put a plaster on it? No, your leg's fucking hanging off, right? You need surgery. That's what the pharmacist would be, right? So the pharmacist has always been my first port of call, right? And then now, right, we have had the biggest benefit that we've had for some time. We will be able to see our GP, right, within 12 days. 12 days. Hold on. When they took over from Labour, yeah, it was within 48 hours. They was talking within hours. So let's work this out. 12 days in hours. Well, hold on. 288. 288 hours. As opposed to 48 hours. 288 hours. 12 days to see your GP. And if you phone up at 8, if you do the 8 o'clock scramble, I always thought that the 8 o'clock scramble was to see your GP on that same day. Right? Not to like phone up to get an appointment for 2 weeks' time. 288 hours. The Tories have destroyed this country, right? Labour must be spitting feathers, because you know something, right? They've put an extra 10 days on how long it takes you to see your GP. An extra 10 days. Right? Imagine what can happen to you in that time you can't see your GP. Right? You have to wonder what is going through the people in this country's minds. What is going through your minds? All right, we've only come to this, right, through one place. That's how we've got to this, through one place, right? The upper classes convincing, right? The lower classes, the poor, the working classes, right? That they have their interest. How can they possibly have your interest, right? When it takes you now, right, 288 hours to see your GP. They can see their GP tomorrow because they're just in that system where if they really want to, they could just pay for that shit. Right? If you haven't got the money to pay to see your GP tomorrow, then you have to wait another 11 days before your appointment comes through. Right? And they're making this, Therese Coffey has made this as a big announcement. Right? She said, and she's been saying, in 2 weeks, right, look at the package that we've put. I said, what? So it took you 2 weeks to put that together. All right. Well, if we'd given you a month, I mean, what could you have come up with in a month? 2 weeks it's taken to put this package together, right? Of things, right, that we already know, right, and for things that we had so much better before. But these people are the people, right, who are the competent people to be in charge of this country. Are you really joking with me here? Right? If these people, right, can turn what was a decent NHS service into whatever this is we've got now, right, in the space of it's what, let's say 13 years. 13 years. Imagine when 20 years, in 20 years, right, they'd be saying, well, yeah, you'll be able to see your GP in a month. It's really just like, I don't understand, right, how the people in this country, no, I do understand. Because let me tell you, right, if you are a white person, right, because I got a message from a person yesterday, right, to tell me that I should leave the racist shit out. But let me tell you this: if you're a white person and you voting for the Tories and you're working class or poor, then you are the problem, because they need you to vote for them so that they can keep fucking this country up. That's what they need, right? Same goes with because we do have white nationalists, black and Asian people, right? Just look at Priti Patel, right? And Zuela Braverman, right? And all of the black and Asian Tories, right? All of these people are also white supremacists. Right, and for them, the drawbridge is pulled up after them and their families. A lot of them and their families have come. I mean, Nadim Zahawi, he's Iranian or Iraqi, he's something like that. And say, what's our relationship like with your homeland? And he is in the Tories. So that is the problem that we face in this country, right? And that's the reason why our NHS is in the problems that it's in, because those people will always say to you, oh no, it's those people's fault, those blacks and those Asians and all those people who speak a funny language, when what they really mean, right, is it's the working class and the poor's fault, right? Because I keep telling, right, poor and working class white people, you people are Negroes, you're black, don't worry about it, because that's how the world really sees you. And when you finally come to terms with that, right, that is when, right, we will get rid of these toll rags, right, from out of this country, right, because the Tories should never ever ever be in government ever again. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me, and a special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages, I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. I don't know if let's go to the USA for a quick minute, yeah? I don't know if you've seen some of these stories, yeah, but a lot of the police officers in America, a lot of the cops, yeah, are going around and doing drive-by shootings. Right, they're literally, when I say drive-by shootings, these guys are literally doing drive-by shooters. They're driving up and they're shooting from out the window before they even get out of cars, right? And then they're accusing people of shooting at them. And then when people have been searched, and the area's been searched, no guns have been found. Right, but these, so much cops in America. This it must be like a new thing they're doing, and they're especially doing it in black and Hispanic territories. and it's been going on. I think it's been going on for a little while now, and the situation is getting really really serious over there. Do you know what I mean? America's got some real problems, and let's speak about like I don't know if you've seen like Donald Trump, obviously with his social media, Truth Social, right? Obviously, because it's failing, because Donald Trump has always been a failing businessman, right? But the problem is, so he gets so far into debt with things like banks and that they can't actually afford to bankrupt him. Do you know what I mean? Because they would just lose too much money, right? But obviously his Truth Social is really failing now. And you know what? It's a simple thing. The reason why it's failing, because right, he needs the libs, right? Because the whole of right wing politics, is to upset the libs and the wokies and the lefties. That's what all of their policies are. Because if you look at all the policies, what Biden's bringing in, helping the people, right? All you've got people like Ted Cruz just talking about, trying to upset the wokies, and you think to yourself, well, why don't you try coming up with some policies, right, that are useful for people? These guys want to fight against Medicaid. They want to fight against the infrastructure plan, the chip plan, giving letting people off of student loans, right? Education should be free, right, in the West. Education should be free. However you look at it, should be free. Most of these guys, all of these guys went for a free education. All of them did. Went for a free education, right? And now, right, they're in that position. They make sure that oh no, we pull the drawbridge up, right? You all have to pay for your shit, and you have to get yourself into some heavy debts, right? When the shit should really be free. But in America, that's how they do it. They're trying to get, and all the Republicans. Oh, we want to take away women's rights. Right, and they're talking about how they are for the sanctity of life, right? But yet for all, you've got Republicans moving migrants, right, to a place, right, where they've got no food, no water, nothing. Where put them somewhere where there's nothing at all for them, just so they can make a point against the libs and the wokies and the lefties, right, who came out in support of these people, right, and gave them support, as much support as they could, after they put them on what was basically a holiday island, right? So now right, who was now all the wokies, right, who have had the opportunity to say, look at us. Right, you put these people near us, and we just showed you how much better we are than you. You gave them that opportunity to be able to lord it over you, right? Because then the wokies, they looked after them as much as they could, right, for the 48 hours, and then they moved into a part of the state to an army base, right, where, right, they could get like healthcare, they could get clothing, they could get food, they could get shelter. Right, but yet for all, right, the Republicans want to take away women's rights, and they tell you about how they care about the sanctity of life when they're moving migrants from one place to another, right? And people like Donald Trump wonders why his social media is failing. It's failing because they can't upset the libs, and so they need to be on places like Twitter so they could interact with the libs, because that's all their policies are about, is upsetting the libs, upset the wokies, upset the lefties, right? Them people are some damn idiots. Right, just let the left just get on with politics, right, and just let them carry on with what they're carrying on with, because something, they're just about to feel the wrath of the women in America, the Republicans. After they've taken away with the women's rights, they're going to find out the strength of the women in the next elections, and they're going to really feel it. And then let's stay internationally, because Russia have released 5 Brits, right? I think 2 or 3 of these guys was actually on a death. They got the death penalty. Right? I think, well, how the hell you got death penalty a couple of months ago, right? And you was released yesterday, right? And it's Bin Salman who done it, because Bin Salman probably wants to get back into the after he murdered Khashoggi, right? He probably wants to get back into the good books of the West. Do you know what I mean? So he brokered a deal to get us back these soldiers that had gone to Ukraine and they've been captured by the Russians and sentenced to death. Most people have been sentenced to death. Right? So like, you must think to yourself, wow, that's a bit of a turnaround, to be sentenced to death one minute and the next minute you're on a plane flying back to Britain. You know, Russia, seriously, they're just like, you know what? That's one fucked up country, right? If you could get like a death sentence, right, and then be released and then back on a plane that quickly, come on, man. At least keep them for a couple of years. Do you know what I mean? Say, yeah, well, we was gonna give them the death sentence. You know what I mean? But because you're making yourself look really stupid internationally. Come on, do you know what I mean? It's just sick, ridiculous. And over 1,000 people was arrested in Russia yesterday, demonstrating over the whole. Because I don't know if you saw Putin's announcements where he said, you know, I don't know if you saw his announcements, but 1,000 people was out on the road yesterday. Obviously 1,000 people got arrested, so it must have been like thousands out. And then we've got like the murder of Olivia Pratt Corbell, right? And you know, the person who done that must be really under some pressure today, because his ass must be really thinking to himself, listen, they've put up a 200 grand, right, for the capture and the charging and the conviction of this motherfucker. So his ass must be flapping, because he knows, right, someone very close to him is going to say, you know what, no man, I've done with you. Right, and for 200 grand, that's life changing money. Right, someone's going to give his ass up. And we've had a 16-year-old boy arrested for the murder of a 15-year-old boy in Huddersfield yesterday, which obviously is not, which obviously is like, you know, there's far too much of these youngsters, like, you know, taking each other's lives over, you know, I don't know what it was over. I mean, a lot of people will speculate that it could be over drugs, it could be over this, it could be over a girl, it could be over so much different things. But a lot of times they'll speculate these things are over drugs. And if it was a thing that was over drugs, I'm not saying it is, but if it was a thing that was over drugs, there's a reason for that, right? And that's to do with their laws. Their laws are what makes drugs so violent. Right, because of the stringent laws. Right, if you look at, you know, remember when they couldn't keep control of alcohol back in the day with alcohol and all that shit. And what did they do? They legalized it. And what did that do? Took all the violence out of it immediately. Why don't these people learn from the past instead of, right, just continuing and spending billions of pounds on a fight against drugs, right, which they can never win. Never ever win, right? And we go over to Ireland because in fact, right, Liz Truss had a meeting with Emmanuel Macron, right? And you know, she didn't discuss the little boats coming over from France, and she didn't discuss the Irish protocol. You know why? Because both of those two are very high tension, both of those things, right? And Britain can't be affording to argue with people like France, right? Even though she was foolish enough to say, you know, is Emmanuel Macron friend or foe? And she said, well, the jury's out on that, which was one of the most stupid things I've ever heard a UK leader say. But we are dealing with a woman who is a dummy, according to Sergei Redrov. And for the first time, right, the Catholics outnumber the Protestants in Northern Ireland. So this is very, very coming close to the breakup of the United Kingdom, which will be coming very, very soon, right? Imagine that, right? That, you know, as four nations, of course we're much stronger together, and we should be much better together. But everybody wants to get away from England, and you have to ask yourself why that is. That's because, you know what, we keep imposing far right governments, right? And you know, the Scots and the Irish and the Welsh, they don't want to live under these far right governments. Right, you know, and we keep on imposing these far right racist governments on these people, right? And that's one of the main reasons why they want to get the fuck away from us, right? And that, to me, is really shameful. The English should take a good hard look in the mirror and wonder why is our closest brothers and sisters want to get the fuck away from us. Take a look in the mirror. Joe Biden, this is like Brexit. Joe Biden has told Liz Truss in detailed terms, you must do a deal with the EU. Get this shit sorted out, right? Talk about sovereignty. Where the fuck is it? We can't raise issues with the French, right? We're being told, right, by Joe Biden, get this shit sorted out. Do it. This is shameful. The UK is thinking of joining a new European political community. I don't know what it's about. I'm gonna have to read up about that, but that's just the headline that I'm seeing. Right. The government have been warned foreign investors will start to leave the UK because of the low cost of the pound. The pound has had the granny kicked out of it by these people. These people have smacked the pound around, right? And that is right, and that is what happens, right? When you have people who are completely shit at their job, right? And all of our politicians, right, especially the Tories, have been completely crap at their job. Are you people still happy with your vote, right? When you voted for Boris Johnson over Jeremy Corbyn? Because let me tell you, right, Jeremy Corbyn would have never had you in this position that we're in now. Because remember, he would have never allowed all the utility companies to profitize. He wouldn't have allowed that. You know he wouldn't have. I don't even have to explain how he wouldn't have allowed them, because you know he wouldn't have done that. And did you know that in 2019, the Queen Elizabeth herself, in the palace, said the UK's future lies within the EU. I've only just seen this story today. I didn't know this. But in 2019, that's what the Queen said. But they kept it quiet. The Queen said, listen, you need to keep this shit in the EU. They didn't listen. And look at you now. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. It was supposed to be 20 minutes, but I'm up 21 minutes and 30 seconds already. So I'm going to wrap this up. And as you see, I was speaking rather quickly. So, my friends, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm DMC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.